Big thanks to Now for sponsoring this pod. I've been really enjoying watching The Last of Us on Now. Have you been watching it? It's really good, isn't it? Second episode came out yesterday, and it's scary. It's very good. This is how good it is, right? That even my wife, the coward, right? I only call her that because she once hid behind her hands watching the BFG, right? She was terrified, and I found that very funny. Even my darling wife, Terry, the coward, couldn't stop watching it. You know, scares and all, right? That's how good it is, how enthralling it is, right? But if that's not your bag, hey, guess what? They also got Golden Globe winning show, The White Lotus is on there, right? They've also got the greatest show of all time, did I stammer? The Sopranos is on there. In fact, it's the only spot you can watch Sopranos. So all of that and more available on Now.
Shitshow. And I know that the show is Tony Galvin Shitshow. And I know, yeah.
All right, hi, hey, how you doing? Hey, how's things? Hey, I tell you, sorry about the voice here. You can call me Shergar. Turned into a bit of a motorbike there. You can call me Shergar because I'm a little horse. Well, actually, no. Who would? Actually, Noah. You know the horse that features in the artwork for this podcast. If you're on Spotify, I have not been able to figure out that whole Apple. The Apple artwork is different, and I don't know how to change that. But whatever. Don't sweat the small stuff, eh? But it does. You should be seeing a little horse, and his name is Noah. So you can call me Noah because I'm a little horse. Today, my voice is a little horse. Because I could be coming down with something, or it could be the 9,000 cigarettes that I smoked on Friday, which might have been, I was at Stag. And you can call me Thomas the Tank Engine, because I was emitting a lot of smoke. You know? Thomas the Train. Sorry, hashtag Thomas the Train. Change the name to Thomas the Train. They need to drop this whole tank engine thing. Drove essentially to Dingle and back to be there for 8 hours. We were, I drove to a stag in Dingle. I said, Terry, it's my mate Jack Stag. I want to go. I know the baby's 6 weeks old, and we have another baby. Use a toddler. So don't worry, I'm going to drop Sonny off at my ma's. You look after the other one, if that's all right. And I'm only going to be gone. Trust me, it'll be blip, and I'll be back. Right? I'm just going for the first night of this stag, right? So drove 4 hours, there. And it was great. It was in a pub. So essentially it was like being a lock-in for a whole day. So then I went to bed. And then I got up and I drove 4 hours. Didn't even get to stop. Didn't even get to stop at Obama Plaza. My favorite place in the world. Didn't even get to stop at Obama Plaza. In the stunning Moneygall County, Offaly, I want to say. I'm not even gonna go. You tell me, correct me in the comments. To me, a dub, that everywhere outside that M50, just big question marks on the map of Tony's mind of Ireland, right? So I drove there, and a lot of people be like, he must be a really good mate. I'm like, he is. He's all right. We get on well. We get on well. If I was telling a Yank that, I was like, let me tell you how much the Paddies love a goddamn piss up, right? If I were to tell you that I drove across the country, if I drove west across the country for a one night of a bachelor party, I'm going to localize it as well for you so you fully understand, you fucking thick, right? I'm going to try and completely speak your language of American English, okay? If I were to tell you this fucked up Paddy drove, where, I'm going to even say how long. Just let your imagination run riot. But across the country, technically, from east to west, just for one night of a piss up. What would you think of that? That's like going from, in your language, New York to California for one night. They'd be like, "Wow, this guy's an alcoholic." They would think, but I'm not. But I'm very tired. That's how keen I was. You can call me Roy, because that's how keen I was to just have one night away. From the people that I chose to be with for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? This is the full thing that I chose. But for one night, away from all those people. The people, one of which I wooed and I fell in love with and wooed to marry me and asked personally to spend the rest of my life with, right? So let's not forget that for a second. And then I said to that person, there's no resentment here, right? I'm just going to figure this out for a second. There's no resentment here, right? And then I said to that person, my partner, I said, look, now do you want to have 2 little sprogs, right? That mean that I just checked my wallet here for the responsibilities. A moth flew out. So, because I had no responsibilities. You know those no responsibilities? We checked our balance and it was insufficient funds of responsibilities. Yeah, I want to be rich. Right? I want to be rich in responsibilities. I want to be like a lottery winner, a Euro Millions jackpot winner of responsibilities because we were having too much crack. Can I have that? And she goes, yeah, okay, great. Can we get a house so I have to worry about losing it? Yes, she said, right? And then I'm like, oh, I just need one night away from all the positive decisions that I've meticulously planned for myself, you know? But it was great, you know? One night in heaven. Who's that? M people? What do you mean, M people? Is that M people? M people. One night. Yep. It is. She's a great smile. You're one from M people. Lovely smile. Anyway, look, how are you doing? How was your weekend? See if did we get up to any rapscallion business? I brought a bag of wigs because it's always a better night with a bag of wigs. But by the time I misjudged when to bring out the bag of wigs. I brought out the bag of wigs kind of at the end, the very end. You need to bring out the bag of wigs on the rise. I was bringing it out on the post-slump plateau of the night, you know? Kind of an hour before cheesy tunes are coming on the radio and people are like, okay, I need to fucking leave. You know what I mean? It was about that, and that's when I brought the wigs out. Should have brought the wigs out when it's like, when people have been making the same repetitive joke already twice and you're giddy from making the same repetitive joke, that's when you bring out the wigs, right? Just pre-plateau. But I'm out of the habit. You can call me Sister Mary Clarence in Sister Act 3 because I'm out of the habit, you know, of male company, you know, because of the lotto that I won were responsibilities. I was just talking about that. So I didn't time the wigs very well, but I love wearing a little short-haired man's wig. I think it's the funniest thing in the world, wearing a little hair wig, because it's so unnatural to me. A long-haired man with a mane, right? I just find it so funny. You guys just walking around with your short little fades. I find you so funny. I'd be laughing to myself just looking at your fades because it's so foreign to me, a long-haired man, you know? It's going to be a silly one. Anyway, I've just come from the hospital. Everything's fine. Although, you know, I should sometimes just tag the hospital, put it on Instagram, just to see if anyone's worried about me. You know what I mean? So you ever see people just posting their kind of like... I've seen some people. Now, look, things happen. I understand people get hurt, okay, or crazy accidents might happen, or people might faint, but sometimes people are just going in for a routine something, and they'll post the wrist, you know, with the hospital band, and they're like, guess this is my Monday, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, oh, no, it was just giving blood. You know what I mean? That's a level. Now, I'm an attention-seeking, I don't want to say whore, so I'm going to say sex worker, but it's not applicable. You know what I mean? It's hard to stay woke when you want to say whore about yourself, because sex worker is not applicable. But I'm an attention sex worker for the sake of this, right? And I wouldn't be posting a picture of me with a wristband, you know, because whatever, routine thing, you know? People are thinking, oh my God, are you in, like, what was it, car crash? Because you know how we think. You know how we think. It's the same way you think. That's why you put it up there. So, but look, it was fine. Routine thing, right? But it did mean I got left with the baby alone for a while, right? And the baby is obsessed with Terry's tit, right? In fact, you know what I did? I made a real faux pas. I was chatting to one of the mothers in creche, right? And I don't know why. Just me and Terry talk some way, and I realized that not everyone gets that sense of humor. But the little baby, my daughter Indy, she was wrapped up in her little like onesie or little like pram suit, and her face was out, and it was really windy and cold, right? And one of the mas walked by, and from the creche, and she goes, "Oh, lovely little thing." And we were chatting away, you know, and I was trying to, like, Terry's saying that I need to make more of an effort to kind of, like, befriend people in the crash, you know what I mean? They're like, these are going to be Sonny's friends going forward. So I'm like, all right, I need to make more of an effort. So I was chatting to some of the people outside the crash. I try, you know. And anyway, so chatting to the mum, and she's like, oh, she's lovely, and she got, you know, I love her little pram suit, you know, and her face was exposed. So she's like, oh, I'd say her face is, you know, those lovely little cheeks are probably quite cold. And I was like, yeah, and I tell you, she's had a nice warm boob in her face all day, I said. This woman, complete stranger, was like, and she just got in her car. Like, she didn't flee, like she was in the process of fleeing anyway, but it really felt like I was just, like, I felt like a fucking weirdo anyway, just standing there outside a crash, you know? And then I was like trying to make an effort, and she's like, I'd say her, you know, her face might be a bit cold. I'm like, yeah, she's had a nice warm fucking tit in her head all day, essentially, is what I said. And she was like, oh, okay, bye, you know. There was nothing for her to volley with that one, you know. What could she say? Even if she was the crack, you know, she probably is. Seems like a nice woman. She's probably great crack. But what's, you know, what are you doing? Are you doing a knee or a header to that volley about me bringing up a tit in the second thing I said to this woman, you know? It's hard. It's hard to keep that conversational heads and volleys going. So I don't blame her, but I you know. So but I do get you know. Anyway, we're in the hospital today, and I'm holding the baby, and me and the baby get on pretty well. You know what I mean? I haven't quite sized her up. She hasn't quite sized me up. We're kind of very civil with each other. You know, she looks at me and she's like, "Boobless, what's the fucking crack? When is boob coming around?" I know you know boob. You know, it's almost like me and Indy are like, you know, mutual friends of boob, and we've met up for the first round. Do you know what I mean? And boob still hasn't come, so we're like, boob's mad, isn't she? Oh my god! And we're like having a great chat about boob. You know, like, but do you remember when boob popped out there? I'm like, it's great. You know, I used to kind of be better friends with boob. I want to tell her. You know what I mean? Me and boob don't really get a look in much these days, but I know, you know. And she's probably like now confiding in me, being like, I'm sure you look, boob's sound like boob still talks about you. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know, does she? You know. So we're kind of having this mutual conversation about boob. You know, so I get nervous then because sometimes she's like, I've actually kind of had enough of this chat about boob, and if boob's not actually coming for pints, I don't really want to be around you. You know what I mean? So I get worried and I get anxious sometimes if I'm left with Indy for like a long period of time when Terry's not around, when Terry's inaccessible. And the hospital is very inaccessible because they still have these kind of COVID rules where you have to kind of go in. So anyway, I'm there holding the baby, and I'm kind of like rocking back and forth. But luckily now, I have to say, she's super chill, right? So we're kind of having a relaxed time walking around the hospital. And this woman came over to me, right? And she goes, I love the way you're holding her, right? She says, I love the way you're holding her. And I was kind of holding her like a fucking rugby ball. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't kind of holding her like hunched in, like, you know, nuzzled in. She was kind of like, you know, Indy's facing out and kind of lying along my forearm, and I kind of just holding, kind of supporting her head and her neck, you know. Because she likes staring out. You know, she's seen enough of me. She's like, oh, shit, you're not the tit. You're not boob. So can you just turn me around, please? And, you know, we'll wait until she gets here, you know. It's kind of like her looking at her phone in the middle of the chat, you know. You can just turn me around, actually, you know. So I'm holding her, she's facing out, and so this woman's like, I love the way you're holding her. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And she's like, can you show me how you're holding her? I was like, well, like, and she's like, no, can you like pick, you know? And I was like, oh, I kind of held her up to my chest and then showed where I kind of bring the arm around and then dip her. And she's like, that's great. They won't see me, she says. And I'm like, what you mean? She goes, they won't see me. I've been waiting in the waiting area now for hours and they're not going to see me. And I was like, oh, Jesus, like why? You know, getting on very well with her at this stage. And she goes, they say what I have's got nothing to do with my baby. My belly button is infected. And they're telling me that's got nothing to do with my baby. And I was like, what? And she goes, my belly button's infected. And they're telling me, they went to medical school, them clowns. They're telling me my belly button has nothing to do with my baby. And I was like, oh no. And I didn't really know how much. I don't want to mansplain the female biology to a female. to a woman, I don't want to mansplain that. So I didn't know how far to correct. I was like, no, but like, no. So, no, but like, so your belly button was connected to your mammy, and, but connected to her placenta. And so with your baby, your belly buttons was closed after you were born. They closed that in the same way that your baby's is closed now, That's closed now. And there's nothing else to be hanging from that, And now your baby's belly button was connected to your placenta. And I felt awkward saying this, that you kind of you gave birth to after they were born, your baby, and that was all the nutrients and stuff. And she goes, no, my belly button's connected to her belly button. And I was like, no, just connected to the placenta. And you probably remember that. Remember, like, she was internal. Like, remember, she wasn't like externally. Remember, you didn't like externally carry her. Remember, she wasn't like just swinging around from your belly button like a fucking conker, walking around. Do you remember that? Like, remember, she was like inside, so she couldn't have been connected to your belly button because she was inside. And she was thinking for a second, right? And this woman has been there for hours, arguing with these doctors, And then she thought, fuck them. I'm still gonna fucking wait anyway. And I was like, no, fair fucks you. Persistence. Do you know what I mean? You got to be persistent in the world, but you want to cut them a break as well. Do you know what I mean? But I was really into her complimenting how I was holding the baby. So I wanted to be very, very nice to her. But you'd feel for her not remembering that the baby was inside, But you know what I mean? Sometimes you just have these thoughts. My friend Emer one time, growing up, she was like 19, and she was like, why is the moon? Like, is that kind of like a nighttime sun? And then, you explain. I had this recently, right? No, anyway, then you'd explain, no, the moon that they landed on. Yeah, that's that same moon. And she's like, all right. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just one missing link, and these things in isolation. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's one for you, right? Do you know Italy, yeah? Do you know Italy, right? I only realized really like the scope of the influence of Italian culture on the world. Like, I only realized that they're all Italy. Like, let me explain. In kind of floating bubbles above my head, and I don't know if this is going to make sense. I don't know if any of this podcast today is going to make sense. But in kind of floating bubbles, I was aware of Italian film. I was aware of Italian horror. I was aware of Italian westerns. I was aware of the Italian composers of the music for those and how influential that is. I was aware of Italian fashion. I was aware of Italian music, disco, electro, classical, opera. I was aware of all these, right? I was aware of Italian food. I was aware of pizza. I was aware of pasta. I was aware of detailed aspects of that. Peasant food. I was aware of kind of just Italian meats, Italian sausage, sauces, right? All these things as isolated bubbles floating around in my head. And then recently, I don't know what I was watching, but they all kind of converged. And I'm like, that's all Italy. Do you know what I mean? That's all Italy. Italy did all those things. Italy. I always thought Italy was like, I know Italy. I know Italy as a world power, as in some cases a superpower, but also as a kind of, but also, like Sicily and, peasant Italy, but also rich and Gucci Italy. Like I was aware of all this, and it only just in the last 2 months dawned on me that I'm like, oh fuck, I really like Italy. I really like Italy, and that's before you even get into the immigrants, the emigrants rather, the American Italians, the British Italians, the Irish Italians with the chippers here, and the cafes over in London, the local restaurants in the States with the red and white kind of checker tablecloth Italians, Sinatra, the Rat Pack, crooners, Coppola, Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino. Like, it's all, Hollywood, Italy as an influence on American art. And it just all clicked together that is Italy. And that's before you even get into the fucking Romans, mate. So, I'm sorry I was like, kind of like, I do a lot of Italian voices, you know, and I was kind of taking the fucking piss for a while, but I'm not going to stop, because while you still can do Italian voices, I need to still do them. But I'll think twice about, you know, my attitude as to why I'm doing them. I was taking the fucking piss before, you know. Now, none but respect, you know. I told you before, and because I brought it, I was talking to Jordan about him recently. I had this old manager in my stockroom, Giorgio, angriest dude, most high pressure dude I ever met in my whole life, right? And he didn't like me very much because I was no good at my job. I was no good at my job, Giorgio. Please, Maron, don't fire me. I'm no good at my job. Please, my friend. I got kids, man. Well, not like kids, but some of the club nights I go to are £20, man. You know, like they're not cheap, man. Anyway, yeah, he didn't like me very much because I was moving shit around. I've been moving shit around. Places a shithole, you know, because I was the stockroom manager. He fucking hired me as a stockroom manager. I don't even think I had my shoes on the right feet when I went in for the interview. You know what I mean? You know? And he's like, and I tell you what, and we had this guy, right? And he would get wound up because he'd always say stuff like, he's like, Tony, you move shit around, man. I'm not a fucking Madrido, man. I'm not a Madrido. You move the fucking Havianas, man. We're the fucking Havianas. You know? He'd say this all the time. And it was a kip. I think I brought this up before, but we had this guy come in one time when I was a stockroom manager, a.k.a. the only person who worked in the stockroom. And they brought someone in just to kind of help because they were like, all right, look, we need someone just to come in for 2 weeks because this place is a shithole. So you just tell them what to do. And I was like, I need more hands down there. Or, you know, I know I'm coming in late and I know I'm leaving early and I know I'm not really working much while I'm here, but I need help, you know? And the first thing you do is ask for help. So they got this guy, right? This guy was a pilot. He was a trained pilot. I think he was like about to start work in 2 weeks' time for British Airways, right? Like a proper pilot, right? And he was such a go-getter. Go-getter, who am I? Big swinging cat, right? He was such a go-getter, man, that he didn't want to sit on his arse for 2 weeks unpaid, doing anything, regardless of the fact that he probably had a bit of money and he was about to become a pilot. He was like, I'm not sitting in my hoop, so I'll get a job in a stockroom for 2 weeks. This is the sort of guy we're talking about, right? Anyway, he's brought in as my junior, right? And I'm showing him the ropes first day. And I'm like, yeah, so we opened this box of shoes and then we put them in. And I found that if the bay for like the Vans fills up, I just shove them in anywhere, you know. And say if like Converse bay is kind of filled up, you can kind of mash it in. The box will break. And he's like, well, okay, whoa. All right. So like, what if you moved all the spaces together and you just kept like one little shelf empty on each bay so that if you had to move stuff around, you could kind of like put all those at the back. And he was like, show me where I can find all this space. And I'm like, here, man, it's your fucking funeral, man. Georgia's going to flip the lid. You waste your time doing something like that, right? Anyway, that day, he found me essentially a whole room of space. You know, and he found all this space. And he had bays at the end and empty shelves. And he was only there for 2 weeks. And it was honestly like the end of an E.T. when he left. I'm like, please don't go. Like, please, you know. Stay. I'll be right here. And he pointed at the sky because he's a pilot. But how did I get onto that? Yeah, also, I've got the inside scoop because Dancing with the Stars' Kevin McGahern was telling me he's sharing a studio with an Italian. And he says this Italian loves when he does an Italian voice. So if that's the case, then the gloves are off. Then the gloves are off. Yeah, but Italy's great. I had a similar epiphany with Japan, you know, when I started realizing, oh, I love Akira. And Final Fantasy 7, they're all related, you know. So just, you know, look up. Do you know what I mean? Look up from your fucking book once in a while and realize that countries do a lot. I'm sure there's a little Yank over there realizing that. Oh, Banshees of Inisherin. Oh my God, they're all Irish. Oh my God, loads of stuff I like is Irish, you know. Oh my God, are you telling me the Kimberley biscuits I've been eating, as well as Sinead O'Connor I've been listening to, and the pints of Beamish I've been drinking are all Irish? I was thinking our Dublin needs like a Paddington, you know, not station. Well, that would be cool as well. That'd be nice if we had a good train station as well. But no, like the Bear. I do like those movies, and my dad got my young flip the Paddington anthology, and he loves it. He loves reading about Paddington. And you know what? They're actually funny. That's the thing about Paddington is, it's actually funny for the kids and the adults alike. We'd be creasing ourselves laughing at what Paddington's up to. No, they're adorable little books, and Paddington's got a great outlook on life, you know. But like essentially, they're just like tour guides for London. Essentially, Paddington going to various places, you know. It's essentially like Paddington on a red bus tour, you know. He's going to like the Tower, like one of the whole stories is like him going to the Tower of London. Another one is another palace. Hampton Court is a whole story. He goes to Hampton Court. Not interested, you know. Buckingham Palace, also not interested. My uncle is like, why? Who is the Queen? I'm like, don't ever ask me that question again. You know what I mean? I'm trying to hide Jesus from him, let alone this obsession with the Queen everywhere. So anyway, I think we need one. I think we need a little pigeon. We need Connolly instead of Paddington, right? A little gammy-eyed pigeon with one leg, Connolly, that gets brought around, that gets adopted by a rich family, picked up in Connolly Station, you know. Connolly goes to the RDS Simmons Court, you know. Connolly couldn't believe his luck. The Murphy family were going to take him to the RDS Simmons Court to see the Leinster Lions take on Racing 92. Connolly, how many tries do you think Leinster are going to score? Do you think we're going to get the bonus point? Said Connolly, while gnawing at his one good leg, trying to find a flea. You know? Oh, Connolly. Connolly scares away bathers at the 40-foot. Connolly visits Bono. Hey, Connolly, do you want to get on this track? Oh, nice. Larry Mullins Jr. Get a beat on that. No. You know? No war. You know, so there's a lot to be said for having our own. Dustin kind of would have been one, you know. But I felt like he kind of got let down. Zig and Zag had amazing comics. Dustin kind of got left in the wind a little bit there. There should have been Dustin goes to this, Dustin goes to that. Big merch opportunity there with Dustin that was not fully realized. Right, I'm going to tell you my joke, right? I've picked a random word from ChatGPT. I said, can I have one random noun? Now, this is the thing. I'm fighting ChatGPT every week for the best joke. Sometimes it might win. Most that I have been winning, right? Listen to my Patreon episode where I gave 5 jokes, and I'm pretty sure I won 5-0 against ChatGPT for how funny these jokes were, right? Anyway, I have even asked ChatGPT to give me a random noun, playing to his court, his RDS Simmons court, right? And ChatGPT, or they, sorry, there's no need to be putting a gender on an AI, right? So I'm playing to their court, right? And so they have given me the word keyboard, okay? And my 2-minute joke, because that's all I'll give myself to write this joke, is this. Did you hear about that bloody keyboard that had to resign after the Mahon Tribunal? Yeah, his name was Qwerty Ahern. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is just me in the middle of the night now. I'm tired now. That's awful. But can ChatGPT? Sometimes you got to do a low ball just to see if ChatGPT will still lose. Do you know what I mean? Are we at any risk from this AI taking my job as one of Ireland's greatest comedians? What do you got for me, ChatGPT? A joke about keyboard. Okay. Why was the computer cold? Because it left its windows open. Fuck! Shit, please don't sack me. Please, Giorgio, man, please don't. ChatGPT, please don't sack me, mate. Please, I need this job so bad. I know I haven't done a lot recently to deserve it. That's not true. There's loads going on. In fact, I got a couple of things to plug for you right here. I'm going to seamlessly transition into this. You know, GUTF. This Friday, the final episode of Season 1. Sorry, it's taken me a long time to edit. Well, actually, it's taken me a long time to get the footage for it, but that doesn't matter. It's edited. It's coming out. and it's coming out on Friday. To coincide with the fact that we're doing 2 live, GUTF. If you're not aware what GUTF is, aka Get Up the Fuck, it is a morning magazine show, a joke show with me, Shane Daniel Byrne, and a heap of the funniest heads in the world, including Michael Fry, Killian Sunderman, Martin Angolo, Emma Dorn, Justine Stafford, Peter McGann, as well as a heap of other people who didn't feature in season 1. They're all going to be there on the 17th of February in the Mermaid Theatre in Bray, as well as then following 22nd in the Liberty Hall Theatre in Dublin, mate. And it's going to be a really fun time. Also, it's sold out, but if you happen to get a ticket that's on the cancellation list, on the 2nd of February, is it the 2nd? I fucked this up last time. Yes, it is Thursday, the 2nd of February. We're having the Tonys 2023, where we're celebrating the year 2022 and going through all the categories and picking the best bits from 2022. It's a recap of 2022 show in the form of an awards show for 2023, as well as that. Maha Shin. On the 14th of February, do you have any Valentine's plans? Do you want to come watch me and Kevin McGarren and Justine Stafford watch Moulin Rouge live in the Omniplex in Rathmines? Well, there's tickets available for that on Omniplex's website. And then after that, I don't fucking know what's going on, but I tell you what we are going to do. I do actually know what's going on. There will be another Bureau de Change song contest kicking off in June. That's when me and a lot of the people I just mentioned come together and do a live fake Eurovision song for your pleasure. We have a new venue this year, but we also have a live watch-along Eurovision where we're going to be watching the Eurovision live. There's a separate event. So the Bureau de Change is where we all pick a country and we do a fake song, and it's a great show, and it's been a sellout the 2 times we've done it so far, and really, really popular. This other thing is a live watch-along. I'm finally getting to live my Graham Norton, Terry Wogan fantasy, watching the actual Eurovision live and doing the talky bits in between for your pleasure, with a heap of guests, with a bar, in a great venue. So if you want to watch the Eurovision in front of a big crowd and have a bunch of people talk in the in-betweeny bits that aren't going to interrupt the flow of anything, but you also get to enjoy the Eurovision, well, that's happening too, and tickets are going to be available for that very soon. And the priority tickets for the Eurovision thing, not the Bureau de Change thing, but the Eurovision thing, are going to be available to patrons of my Patreon page, which, if you like this podcast and you don't want to go to any of that shit I said anyway, I mean, if you do, you get early bird tickets for all those things, but if you don't want to go to any of those things, but you just enjoy this podcast and you'd like to throw me a few bob for that, you know, you can do that over on patreon.com/Tony Cantwell, where for the price of a pint a month, you can get early bird access to any gig that I put on myself. That'll be live podcasts. That will be this watch-along Eurovision party. Maybe some other future watch-alongs that maybe don't happen in the Omniplex. Things like that. They will happen, including, I'm hoping, a live 420 watch-along of Reefer Madness that we're going to be doing at some point, myself and Kevin McGarren. So if you're interested in that, you want to get early bird tickets for that, you can do so over on my Patreon, but also ignoring that. If you actually just like the show and you want to listen to more of it, there's an extra podcast every single Friday, the bonus Cantwell Shitshow, which is as long, if not longer than this pod, and that comes out every Friday. So look, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for putting up with all the plugs. Thanks very much to the sponsor Now, where you can catch The Last of Us, and I've been really enjoying watching it. Thanks very much. All the best. Bye-bye.